Get ready
for the most electrifying podcast,
Gente Talk. Hosted by husband and wife duo
Jorge La Voz
and Dr. Lonnie.
With over 8 billion people on this planet,
we aim to capture the stories changing the world,
experience intriguing pláticas,
laughter,
and interactive challenges that will captivate everyone,
including your abuelita.
Stay tuned, gente.
This is going to be a ride you won't want to miss.
Hola mi gente, welcome to Gente Talk Show. I am your host Jorge La Voz.
And I'm Dr. Lonnie, and thank you for joining our podcast today. We're going to be talking about stories of innovation, inventions that could have transformed the world, but something happened where they were just held back or pulled off the market.
Yeah, interesting. Some of these breakthroughs that we're going to talk about today are going to be, for example, free energy, electric vehicles, and even plastic-eating bacteria, which were revolutionary at the time. They could have changed the world as we see it now, but for some reason, they got buried somewhere. It died somewhere, right, in the process, in the transition, and we don't know what happened. It could be either corporate greed, political agendas, or fear of change.
That's right.
That's what we're going to talk about.
We're going to be looking at several examples across history, beginning with the early 1900s, and we're going to take it to today, actually, and just look at what went wrong. What could the world have gained from these amazing ideas that if they had succeeded? Absolutely.
So, mi gente, get ready because we're going to take you on a really fascinating journey, and we're going to see the first of Nikola Tesla and what his dream was like of free energy for everyone. And for some reason, it just never happened. So stay tuned.
Strength. It's not just something you find. It's something you build. At Nikola Strength Training, we don't just lift weights. We lift ourselves. We push past limits. Every rep, every step brings you closer to the strongest version of you. This is where you break barriers, where you find your resilience. At Nikola Strength, we're not just a gym, we're a community. We rise together stronger every day. Strength starts here. Are you ready?
All right, so let's get started with Nikola Tesla, right?
Okay.
And most people know Tesla as the cars that they drive nowadays, but this man was impressive, a genius. He was way ahead of his times. The rumors, doctora, is that they say that Nikola Tesla may have had some sort of a time machine where he went into the future and he was given a lot of these inventions that he was creating. So it says that he was given, this the power of knowing the future and stuff that was going to happen in humanity that we needed and that we could benefit from. But unfortunately, something happened to where some of these inventions were either lost or stolen from him and somebody else got credit because he really wanted to benefit humanity.
Obviously, because there's a whole car line named after him, right?
There is.
Now, I don't know if he's, he's already passed away, but I don't know if he's benefiting or his descendants, if there even are any, are benefiting from it. I highly doubt it. But I know one thing about Tesla, that, he definitely believed in using Earth's natural frequencies to transmit electricity without wires. He ended up building a tower in New York that was funded by JP Morgan. And the idea was groundbreaking. You say maybe, we talk about conspiracy theories. You say that maybe he had a time machine. I actually heard that he might be like a being from another planet.
Yeah, I did hear that as well.
Or was in contact with beings from other planets that were like kind of downloading him with information about technologies and things, because he had a lot of inventions.
Right. Well, similar to Da Vinci, right? Leonardo da Vinci was ahead of his time as well. And so another conspiracy theory is that maybe that was a reincarnation of Leonardo da Vinci and Nikola Tesla. He certainly was a fascinating guy. Because imagine this, no power lines, no utility companies that you had to pay, kind of like Monopoly, right? We're playing Monopoly, you stop there and you got to pay that utility company. Free energy available to todo el mundo. But unfortunately, because we live in a society or in a world, I should say, not just society, but in the world where it's predominant by money and how much money is made, uh, you know, something happened. There was a blockage there.
Right, and I think it had to do with J.P. Morgan, right? That
That's what they say.
The financier was not interested in free energy, right? Free energy for the world. Wanted a system that could be profited.
Of course. I mean, why wouldn't you, as a businessman, if you're always looking to make more money and to capitalize off everyone else, why would you want to give things for free?
Right, and they, I think, at one point wanted to require like meters and bills, like the system pretty much that we have today.
Exactly.
And so since Tesla's project wouldn't be making him any kind of money, he pretty much pulled the funding from it.
Yeah. So without that funding, obviously Tesla wouldn't be able to complete that tower and the dream of, you know, what we call wireless free electricity. And nowadays, you know, we have these solar panels where apparently it's going to save our energy bill, which it does in a lot of cases. And we drive electric vehicles, which to most people, it's because it's green. And that was his idea of, you know, having a green planet and controlling global climate. Warm climate, I guess.
I was just going to say, it's one of history's like what ifs, in the sense that like when we talk about energy systems, I mean, it could have been cheaper, cleaner, and even more equitable. You know, I mean, who wouldn't want that for our planet? I mean, our planet, we're struggling a lot now in the world.
Yeah.
I mean, that would have been like a huge revolutionary invention that we're talking like 1900s, right?
Yep, 1900. Now, this is a reminder of how powerful not only people's innovations are, but also how powerful some of these conglomerates and these companies and corporations are to, you know, kind of pull the strings and manipulate and control everything. So if there's an invention out there that's great for humanity, but it's not profitable, it's not going to come out. And it's a sad thing to say, but it's a type of world that we live in.
All right, so our next almost invention that could have revolutionized the world was actually present already, but got yanked and then at some point came back, but it's public transit systems throughout the US. So we're talking like early 1900s. We had a lot of streetcars that were running through cities. I know LA had like streetcars as well. They were affordable, they were reliable, they kept urban centers connected. But then something happened. What happened, baby?
Well, by that time, you got to remember one of the reasons they got ripped out is because cars started coming in. So you had General Motors, you had Ford, that were two of the biggest companies that came out, and cars were very profitable. Not only just selling a car, but all the pieces that went along with it, right? Tire companies started coming out, gasoline companies or stations started coming out. And remember, back in the days, you'd go to a gas station, you'd fill up, they'd check everything for you. They would actually have somebody there filling up the vehicle.
That's right. Kind of like Back to the Future, right? I think about that movie where they all come out and they're all helping to, you know, gas up the car and clean it.
It's like that, you know, F1, the IndyCar racing, right? You pull up at the station and there's a bunch of people gassing it up, cleaning the car, y vámonos. That's how it was. So it was very profitable at the time. And then you had gasoline, you know, with the oil companies. So these companies saw dollar signs, and they lobbied to not only create these companies, but they lobbied to prioritize the building of highways as public transportation. And as you know, there's a lot of money when it comes to transportation and highways.
Right. I mean, it seems like there was this deliberate strategy to just pretty much yank it out. And at the same time, you know, cities stopped investing in public transit. People were pretty much compelled to I need to buy a car, especially like in LA history. When you look at it, I mean, once the freeways started expanding out of downtown LA, and especially building homes in the suburbs, right? So you have like all these industries that are working together to pretty much push folks to buy a car, to be able to go in and out of, you know, between suburbs and downtown LA.
Yeah, because I mean, we live in LA. Imagine going to work. I mean, if we drive to LA, we're about 15 minutes away driving. But if we decide to walk there to work, no way. We'll be there in what, a day or two?
¿Están listos para algo nuevo? Descubre la alegría del baile con Prestige en Stevens Steakhouse. Ya seas principiante, intermedio o avanzado, Miguel y Jennifer te guiarán en cada paso del camino. Ven a bailar, reír y hacer nuevos amigos. Tu aventura comienza aquí.
So imagine these people that needed to go to work. Maybe they didn't have any other means of transportation, but these cars that were yanked from them, now they were forced to walk, or they were forced to buy a car. And guess what? Now they were forced to get into debt, right? Which is another thing that we were talking about the last time. So if you don't get a loan, you're not putting the banks in business, and if they're not putting you in debt, they're not making money.
Right. And I think the other thing that arose from this is, you know, a lot of these cities basically became car culture cities. So public transit kind of less reliant on that. But at the same time, it was like you see more traffic congestion, you see more urban sprawl, you see more pollution, right, as a result of this. I mean, again, for low income families, public transit was really important in their lives. And so to have to push them to buy a car, you know, in the other episode, we talked about, you know, do we lease or buy? I mean, imagine these families being pushed to have to buy a car now.
Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not against having a car, because, you know, it's our method of transportation, and having a car is good. But when it started, and then as the years went by, there was a lot of things that went wrong in between. And I mean, we can just that's another whole segment that we can get into. But in a nutshell, you know, having the invention of the vehicle was good. In some cases, it actually revolutionized the way we commute. But even now, to the day, look at all the traffic that it's caused.
It has. I mean, and our city isn't getting any better with
city
traffic.
Doesn't matter the time of day on any highway in California and Los Angeles area. There's traffic at any time, anywhere. Right?
And so we do have, you know, railways that are coming in, right? Rail lines as well. So public transit system has definitely evolved and is present, at least in LA and other cities as well. And it's definitely a great tool. And hopefully trying to, I want to say, alleviate some of the carbon footprints that, you know, we put on this planet. But yeah, we definitely have an issue with traffic. And
you know what I can't wait for? That bullet train, right, to go to Vegas. Because that's going to eliminate a lot of vehicles, a lot of cars from driving and being in that traffic. I remember once we were there for 8 hours because of an accident.
Oh my
But imagine
goodness.
Taking that bullet train.
No, it wasn't just one accident.
Well,
there were a few accidents.
It took us 8 hours to get there when it should take 4. But yeah, that's the advantage of having public transportation, is that if anything like that were to revolutionize now, which they're getting into, I'm all for it.
¿Estás buscando la casa de tu sueño? Bienvenidos a Excellence Bienes Raíces, donde ofrecen un excelente servicio y garantizan el éxito de tu inversión. Permite que Excellence te guíe a la casa de tus sueños. Porque cuando se trata de encontrar un hogar perfecto, Excellence es la única opción.
Now let's look at another topic here, right? In the 90s, believe it or not, a lot of people may or may not know, but General Motors introduced the first electric vehicle. They called it the EV1. It was one of the first electric cars of the modern era. It was sleek, it was efficient, produced 0 emissions, and people absolutely fell in love with it.
Well, I know I fell in love with it. I was hoping that was going to be my first car.
A lot of
At the
people
time.
wished, yeah. But what happened is, you know, the EV market at the time was barely starting. So there wasn't a lot of popularity, and there wasn't a lot of mainstream media out there giving people an incentive to buy these cars.
Now, wait, was it that? Because I don't know, during the time, I was told that there were companies that didn't want this car to come forward, specifically oil.
Well, yeah, I mean, because imagine if you go 100% electric and there's no more gas, what business do the oil companies now have, or where are they going to go? And that's a huge business, right? But it's interesting how later on, especially in our times, when you buy an electric vehicle, people were given an incentive by the federal government. They're giving out tax credits, what they call them. So if you were to buy a car, they would give you a $7,500 tax credit here in California that you can buy a car. And not only that, that's from the federal. The state would also give you $2,500. So people are now having an incentive to buy an electric vehicle. Imagine $10,000 of tax credit so you can buy a car. So that's why there's a bunch of Teslas now. Here's the interesting thing. Did you ever notice, Dr. Lani, that Tesla does not do commercials?
You're right. I didn't think about that.
They don't do not one
right.
commercial. They don't advertise at all. They spend zero on advertising.
Well, not true. Well, I don't know about not spending, but I mean, pretty much you see those cars everywhere that you go. So
that's free
in some way,
advertising.
yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I mean, they're still advertising, maybe not paying for it, but you know.
You know, the way they advertise is now they're giving people incentive. For example, let's say you buy a Tesla and you want to refer me. So now I go to your link, I buy a Tesla, and I get a discount, right? Quote unquote discount. So it's a referral. It's actually a very good business mindset. And again, I'm not against electric vehicles, right? It's not for everybody. It certainly is making its breakthrough. I think the disappointing thing about some of these electric vehicles is the mileage range. Right, you can go maybe maximum 300 miles, and you're gonna have to sit there and wait a few hours before it charges. That's inconvenient for me, which is, you know, why we don't get an electric vehicle.
One of the things that I was thinking about during this time is the sort of push for continuance on gas-powered cars, and then, you know, you get this sort of high rise when it comes to paying gas prices. I mean, I might date myself here, but I actually remember putting gas when it was 99 cents a gallon.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
You know, I remember seeing that, and
well, I mean,
and
wages
it's clearly,
were different then.
It's not like that anymore. But I mean, imagine yourself. I mean, you go from like 99 cents a gallon, and then all of a sudden it
went up to $8-9.
Yes, so
California.
I mean, people were being pushed to have to be reliant on gas when this invention could have really revolutionized the market early on. So I mean, it got pulled too soon, and then all of a sudden now we have Teslas. I mean, something doesn't add up to me.
That's right. But, you know, we're not going to get into politics or anything like that, right? So it's interesting how just this story shows how powerful industries can delay progress for our benefit.
Work it, make it, do it, makes us harder, better, faster, stronger. More than power, never, ever, after work is over. Harder, better, faster, stronger. Work it harder, make it better, do it faster, makes us stronger. More than ever, hour after hour, work is never over. Work it harder, make it better, do it faster, makes us stronger. More than ever, hour after hour, work is never over.
So our next example is actually a plastic-eating bacteria and enzyme. And I know it sounds weird, but this is something that came out in like 2016 to the 2020s. Scientists discovered bacteria and enzymes as a way to break down plastics like PET into reusable components. And I mean, this definitely began to revolutionize how we handle plastic waste. And thinking about like our landfills, this idea of having a plastic eating bacteria that can, you know, pretty much clean up a landfill, our oceans, I mean, while reducing reliance on very traditional forms of recycling systems that are not as efficient. I mean, this is just huge, but clearly something was trying to stop, you know, this invention from coming forward to the world. What do you think, baby?
Yeah, I mean, once again, if it's going to threaten profits or threaten, you know, income, then they're going to find a way to not make it, not give it a breakthrough. Just like with a lot of these things that we've been talking about. So it's interesting when they made the law of no more plastic bags. I remember out here in California, and some of the other states, they still use them. But now, remember, they've gone to straws. So now we can't use plastic straws anymore. So a lot of the times now it's what is it made out of? Like carton?
Yeah, like
cardboard.
a carton.
And it feels weird, right? Going from like a plastic straw to one of these cardboard straws. It doesn't have the same feel because you're used to it for so many years.
Well, no, but however, when you see those images of like these innocent tortugas in the ocean, with, the, what do you call it? The plastic from the...
from like the beer cans or the
Yes.
soda cans.
Yes. I mean, it's like, pobrecitos,
twisties.
it's right along their neck. Or you see some of those plastic straws like stuck in their nostrils. And I mean, trust me, I would happily give up, plastic straws, if I know that it's going to help our environment and especially the creatures that we're supposed to nurture and love on this planet.
Yeah, you got to realize that a lot of the things that we're talking about and a lot of these companies, they have control over how we live, what we eat, what we do, how we do things. So it's really not that we live in a free society. We actually live in a society where we're told what to do, what to eat, how to eat, and things like that. Welcome to Excellence Real Estate, where every corner holds the promise of home. At Excellence Real Estate, they're not just selling houses, they're opening doors to your future. From cozy starter homes to spacious family retreats, they can help you find your new home. Let excellence lead you home. Contact them today, because when it comes to finding your perfect fit, excellence is the only option. Here's one thing that I would want to talk about is we were talking about inventions, right? But let's talk about certain companies or certain products that were invented. They were introduced to other companies to invest in, and they rejected it. And these people that rejected it, who are millionaires or billionaires, later these companies turned into multi-million-dollar companies.
I feel like this sounds like Shark Tank. I don't know. Are we going that way?
One of them was.
Okay.
One of them it was. Do you remember Ring? Who doesn't have Ring?
I mean, pretty much a lot of people have Ring,
Right.
or a variation of a Ring.
Correct. And Ring was, at the time, I remember the Shark Tank episode where the guy came out and he presented his product, very confident, and they turned him down.
Really?
They turned him down, saying that, it wasn't what they wanted, wasn't what they needed, and thank you very much. So the guy left, but he didn't leave with his tail between his legs. He left with confidence, and he continued the company. And then now look, years later, look at how much Ring produces.
Yeah, he's saying, ha ha, Shark
Yep.
Tank.
And I remember some of these sharks that now looked into it. Yeah, they laugh about it now, but it was one of the biggest regrets that they have. But
I don't know about that show. I've heard a lot of folks go on there and then their ideas get rejected and then they end up creating these amazing companies and with all these inventions.
You mean with the sharks or without them?
Without the sharks.
Yeah, a lot of them they do. They do, and you know what? Sometimes they go there not just to get an offer from the sharks, but to get exposed.
Ah, I see.
Right. So not only do you have the 4 or 5 billionaires that are looking at these people, but there's other billionaires that are watching them, and they're saying, okay, well, if they don't pick it up, then I'm gonna call this person.
So I love that about Ring. What other examples are there? Do you have another one that comes to mind?
I do have another example. It's not a shark thing, but guess what? Remember our favorite movie video place that we used to rent movies from and videos from? Started with a B?
Blockbuster.
Blockbuster, right? Okay, so check this out. Netflix came to Blockbuster to say, hey, you know what? We want to sell you our company for X amount of dollars. And Blockbuster turned them down.
Really?
Yep. Blockbuster said, no way, Jose. There's no way, that people are going to want to stream movies. Look at what Blockbuster is now.
Well, I think we need to talk a little bit really quick about what Blockbuster was, because there's probably like some millennials out there being like, what is Blockbuster? Right?
So Blockbuster was a place that you would go and you would rent movies. So
and they rented them how?
they rent them in a VHS cassette or later on in Blu-ray DVD. And they would have maybe 20 or 30 of the new releases. So you would actually have to go there really early and get the movie. If for some reason they were out, you were waiting to see when the person would drop the movie down in that little drop box, right? Remember that?
Yes.
And then you would look down to see if they were dropping the movie. So if at the time it was Top Gun, you were looking for a T. And if that was it, you tell the Blockbuster, you go, hey, I think somebody just dropped Top Gun, and it was like, no, I'm sorry, it was twins. So that's what Blockbuster was. You'd have a little card, you were a member, and then you'd pay, I don't know, what, $2-3 a night to have the movie. And then I remember they would have the, please be kind and rewind.
That's right. And but it was a huge thing for families. I mean, movie night was pretty much go to Blockbuster, rent a couple of movies, and have them ready.
You can buy popcorn, candy, take it home. I mean, it was a thing back in the days.
Right. But then now that you talk about like Netflix, but this whole idea of streaming, that has definitely revolutionized the way that we see movies. I mean, with the click of a button, you can pretty much just, on your TV, rent a movie if you want to, or stream it.
That's it. So yeah. So those are inventions and companies that almost happened. There's a lot of things in this world that we could talk about, a lot of things that, we can elaborate on. A couple more that come to mind. KFC. Kentucky Fried Chicken was founded by Mr. Colonel Sanders when he was 65 years old. Right?
I have very strong opinions about KFC.
Yeah, well, it is said that he went door to door selling his chicken recipe, although I think that someone stole it.
That was not his chicken recipe. I'm so sorry.
Although I think either it was stolen from him or he stole it from somebody. Right, but that's another conspiracy theory. And the other one too that comes to mind is McDonald's and Ray Kroc. And if anybody hasn't seen it, it's interesting how they say that Ray Kroc was the founder of McDonald's, but at what cost? If you guys watch the movie, it's really interesting to know how he took over McDonald's, right? But most people think, oh, he's the founder of the Big Mac and all this stuff, and it really wasn't. So it's nice to learn about all these things, because to me that's fascinating, and we've explored ideas and things that could have changed the world and that have changed the world, and each one has sidelined often for the right reasons, others for the wrong reasons. What do you think?
I was just gonna say that I hope for our viewers, you're enjoying this segment, but for the dreamers, the future inventors, the creatives out there that imagine beautiful things and trying to improve our world, I just want to encourage you to keep doing that. Keep trying to make our world a better place, a more efficient place, a place of beauty and support for comunidad, and keep inventing and putting those ideas out into the world. And hopefully, maybe not through Shark Tank, but through other places, hopefully, our world will become a better place. Because I know there's a lot of people that have great ideas, but sometimes they feel like, I'm just so overwhelmed. Who's going to want them? I'm just not going to put my ideas out there. But I mean, I think about the Swiffer, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the Swiffer was something that just came up, and it was like, okay, it kind of improves the way in which we approach our house cleaning. I mean, there's a lot of things out there. So I hope for those folks that are watching or know somebody who's an inventor, keep going. Don't just stop.
Don't give up. And I'm going to tell you something too. When I was younger, I'm thinking, wouldn't it be great if there was something that could deliver your food at your doorstep, that have a delivery system? It sounded so stupid back in the day when I thought about it. It'd be great. And now look what we have. Right?
Uber Eats. And Grubhub.
Yeah.
Or even pizza delivery too. That was kind of like the stepping stone that kind of got us to, Uber Eats.
So I hope you enjoyed our segment as much as we have, and if you have any comments, go ahead and please share this video with all your friends, and let us know what your thoughts are. So once again, I'm Jorge La Voz.
And I'm Dr. Lani.
Hasta la próxima. Be sure to follow us and subscribe.
This is going to be a ride you won't want to miss.